I've always wondered what was the story behind Team Rocket. Magma and Aqua seem to be environmental extremists, Galactic wants to create a world without emotion or spirit, and the list goes on. Team Rocket, on the other hand, is just a crime mafia, but surely there is a bigger backstory, a bigger conspiracy, one might say, behind the madness. Well, today, I'm gonna be playing Pokemon Rocket Edition, where I play as a Team Rocket grunt and see how the Kanto events transpire in the eyes of Team Rocket. Before we begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe, as only less than a percent of you guys are subscribed, so it would mean the world to me if you hit that red button. I get some much needed prologue where I discover the origins of Team Rocket. There seems to have been a war between Kanto and Johto, and Kanto lost. The post-war government, the Indigo League, has been widely unpopular among the Cantonian residents, and to rebel, multiple street gangs were formed, the biggest of which was Team Rocket. We get greeted by Admin Petrol, who conducts a brief on our next mission. As all of us here are new, we all get a free Rattata as a starter and the Fly HM, which is insane this early in the game. Don't like it? Well then, you ungrateful little bastards. Okay. I named my Rattata Vermin and collected my Fly HM, of course still looking to steal a flying type. I meet a fellow rocket grunt named Ronnie, and I already know I'm gonna dislike this guy. He's a major hotshot that is super full of himself. He arrogantly remarks that he could teach us how to steal our first Pokemon, but once we find a little girl who we plan to rob, he backs out like a wimp. I actually felt really guilty stealing this girl's Pidgey, but what can I say? The game is the game.
But the game's the game.
I also robbed this guy of his Poliwag and named it Namor. After all that, I was ready for my first mission. You guys will be deployed to Mount Moon to aid the effort in claiming fossil Pokemon. We have hired a scientist to search for them, and all you grunts have to do is to support the search for the fossils and make sure to scare any trainers that could interfere in our business. I did as I was told, exploring and searching around before I heard some crazy news. The other grunts reported a spiky-haired kid with a war turtle steamrolling his way past the grunts and progressed into the cave system. Of course, Ronnie is skeptical of all this, and he even asked me whether I was scared of this kid trainer, to which I replied yes. In universe, I might not know who this character is, but in real life, knowing what I know, his name rhymes with glue. Anyhow, I was able to find the scientist who had already located two fossils alongside Ronnie. Ronnie, being super hot-headed, wanted the credit all for himself, so he wanted me to stay on guard so he could report to Petrol. We also inquired about the spiky-haired kid, to which the scientist replied saying he did walk past. As Ronnie went ahead to report to Petrol, I realized my fate and what was gonna happen to me. I lost, and with that, I allowed the second kid trainer to pass as he took a fossil while the scientist hid one for himself. I think Petrol pretty much sums up the sentiment that Team Rocket is going through by saying, Jesus Arceus Christ. Petrol is annoyed, but he still finds some use for me as I was able to last long enough in battle to identify the second kid to the boss. And lo and behold, just after my first mission, I was granted the privilege to report straight to the boss.
Now then, let's not waste any time. I heard from Petrol that the fossil excavation mission at Mount Moon was wrecked by the workings of two little kid trainers. Now, between the fact that Petrol is the weakest of my sorry bunch of rocket admins, and that the mission team consisted of complete and utter rookie grunts, it still boggles my mind to the core how in the deepest depths of Giratina's hell a pair of pre-tween could beat up an entire squad of full-grown men and run away with these spoils right in front of their goddamn eyes. I mean, for crying out loud, Ariana, little kids, how freaking absurd is this?
It's very absurd, Giovanni.
Now, having finished berating Petrol for his incompetence, he tells me that you were the grunt standing guard by the fossils. He said that you fought the stronger of the twerps, and that you maybe even fared better against them than any of the other asshats on your team. This is why I've called you in here. I want you to tell me everything you know about this kid, every little detail, every little minutia you happen to glean from your battle with him. I want to have this twerp thoroughly profiled so we can see to it that he'll never dare mess with Team Rocket again. Let's start with the basics. I see. Red, eh? What a ridiculous name. Charmeleon and the other one running around with a Wartortle. Why, those are warfare Pokemon for Christ's sakes. What kids could have access to these, and officially licensed Pokemon trainers no less? Who could these kids' parents be? I have a bad feeling about these two. This red character especially will have to keep our eyes open if he comes our way again. Do you hear me? Whoever these rich kids are, I swear, they are a dangerous breed.
It is reported that gym leader Blaine will be visiting Giovanni by another grunt. Giovanni is kind enough to let me attend the meeting, which I appreciated a lot because learning about the inner workings of Team Rocket was a big responsibility. I'll learn about how Blaine produces Porygon for Team Rocket so that we can sell them in our game corner to make money. However, the Porygon copyright is reserved for Silphco, which means Blaine is making Porygon illegally. With Mr. Fuji finding out about Team Rocket's business in the Pokemon Tower, he's warned all of his colleagues to remain vigilant. Blaine needs to protect his gym leader reputation, so for the time being, he can be seen making Porygon. While not ideal, Blaine was about to suggest Professor Oak to help with Porygon, but Giovanni erupted out of his seat, rejecting the notion immediately, calling him a traitor. Oak must have had a shady past for Giovanni to react this way. Our next option would have to be Bill, as he's sure to have nicked himself a copy of Porygon. He's described to be an eccentric and unpredictable kid, and apparently he's done jobs for Team Rocket before, but he always asks for ridiculous compensation. Nevertheless, we have to make do as we have no other option. So my next mission is set in stone.
Random. I want you to visit Bill, north of Cerulean, and offer him a temporary job producing Porygon for Team Rocket. Tell him he can ask for any compensation within reason. I want you to rendezvous with another Team Rocket squad on another mission in Cerulean, as my admin in charge there will give you some items so that we can tempt Bill. Run along now.
A mission straight from the boss himself. We are moving up quick. I head outside where Ronnie rambles about his new mission in Cerulean about stealing TMs from a collector. That must be the broken into house in the base game. The way they are reworking things and tying them together is really good. I report to the secret base we have set up in the daycare of all places, and it turns out the daycare is just a front for them to take the Pokemon and force breed them to create eggs that Team Rocket can sell. That is insane. I collect Bill's package and make my way to his house, and along the way, I stole a Zubat from Camper Flint for myself and named it Devastator. Look, I feel bad about stealing, but this is the only game where I can steal a Pokemon, so let me do it in peace. I meet Bill and lay out the terms for him, which he merely scoffs at as the things he was offered were not valuable at all. Shiny Magikarp, rare candies, SSN tickets, and even a salary weren't enough to tempt this guy. He puts forward his own terms. He is to receive the rarest sample of Pokemon we acquire, whether it be through catching, cloning, breeding, or however we do it. He also wants intel on Sylph, as there have been rumors about Sylph being on the brink of creating a new type of Pokeball, and he knows we have spies in Sylph as well. As I prepare to leave to relay Bill's terms to Giovanni, Bill comes up with another condition, one that would remain secret between us. He wants us to be his Team Rocket contact. He gives me a cell phone and states that he'll be checking in on me to inquire about stuff that he might be interested in. He also asks me if I know about the Mewtwo project, which I don't, so with that he lets me leave. As I'm heading back to Cerulean, I come across Blue and I was terrified. I thought this was a mandatory loss like the Red battle, but surprisingly I was making headway in the fight. When he brought out Wartortle, I was reminded of something Giovanni said, something along the lines of Wartortle and Charmeleon being wartime Pokemon. This would explain the rarity of these starters and would explain why Oak would be the one handing them out to Red and Blue, as it's hinted he has some sort of involvement in the war. Details like this really make me immerse myself into the game even more. Surprisingly, my Poliwag overpowers his Wartortle and I won the fight. I meet Ronnie as he's still high off the adrenaline from his robbery mission, and as we were heading down to our base, the police arrived at the crime scene at Cerulean, which caused us to quickly run in order to avoid being spotted. We report back to Executive Archer to alert him of the involvement from the police. Just then, a media broadcast breaks through. The media interviewed the collector and his daughter about the robbery, from which the police could derive that Team Rocket was the one behind the robbery because a certain green-haired grunt couldn't keep his hands to himself and robbed the daughter's Pokemon. What a dumbass. Champion Lance then succeeds the previous broadcast, reaffirming his citizens that he will deal harsh punishment to Team Rocket and place a bounty system on them. Grunts can also choose to relinquish their criminal past and start over if they have no bounty for an extended period. Best thing about this is that since my 2 stolen Pokemon were before the bounty system's introduction, as of now I have no bounty on my head. Incredible. Despite the less than ideal situation that Team Rocket is currently going through, Executive Archer praises me as I was able to complete my mission with no drawbacks and saved our Porygon supply without expending resources we don't have. Archer is so impressed that he assigns me another mission. You are to head to Vermilion City to work with the famed Lieutenant Surge. As he was a war veteran, he is a Rocket sympathizer and supports the actions of Team Rocket. So much so, we have had a deal ongoing where we deliver him his drugs in exchange for smuggled Pokemon. This particular shipment deals with rare Johto Pokemon. Collect the drugs for our scientists and rendezvous with another Rocket admin to lend yourself more credibility in front of Surge. That is all. I am looking forward to hearing about your success. Let me pick up the drugs real quick and, steroids. Okay, I see you. I see you, Lieutenant Surge. I meet up with Rocket Admin Proton as we approach Lieutenant Surge together to complete the transaction with each other. Surge is a bit rude, however, as he doesn't have the crate full of Pokemon with him currently as it's still in the SSN. Proton and I are bummed of course, but we still get on the SSN to retrieve the Pokemon. As I was exploring the SSN, I accidentally walked in on a highly private inter-champion meeting. Remember, the champion basically serves as the president.
It is a pleasure to finally get to meet you in person, Lance. I have heard much about the state of Kanto affairs under your reign from my advisors, but I've always wanted the opportunity to discuss it with you personally. Are you optimistic about your region's future?
Oh, let me tell you, Mr. Stone, they're calling it the golden age of Kanto, but we're only just beginning. Not only have living standards increased dramatically in the post-war decade, but our economy is in an unparalleled boom. To think that Silco, once a Kanto family business, now has a near nationwide monopoly on the production of Pokeballs. Future Safari Zone is also attracting an ever-increasing mass of tourists, and that isn't even to mention what the region's brightest entrepreneurs have in store for the saffron and lavender in the coming years. Yes, Kanto has turned out quite the prosperous region, rest assured.
Well, it sounds like the private enterprise is doing well at the very least, but what of the people, Lance? Do they approve of you? I don't mean to draw unwarranted comparisons to the past, but I'm glad to understand that your predecessor was quite universally revered, even though times were tougher then. How do you compare with him in the eyes of your citizens?
Ha! Yes, the predecessor was loved by all. Up until the moment he surrendered from the war, that is, anybody with any sense stopped adoring a champion who would give up his region's independence and honor just to save his own skin pretty quick, I'll tell you. Look, I know that having conquered Kanto in war as a Johto general necessarily means that some of my citizens won't take too kindly to me right away, but I dare say my entry in the history books will be far more favorable than that old coward's.
I see. I hope you'll excuse my lacking both in political experience and memory, but what was the name of the predecessor of yours again?
His name was Samuel Oak. I'm certainly not apt to forget that anytime soon.
Oh, that's right. And this Oak, he has now given up battling altogether and resigned himself completely to his Pokemon research. I understand his Pokédex system is quite renowned in academic circles, even in Hoenn. It's quite impressive.
Heh. Oh, Mr. Stone, Oak didn't give up battling on his own accord. I saw to it that he was banned from ever taking part in a Pokemon battle again the moment he called for surrender. I suppose his research endeavors were all he had left to attend to in his post-war life.
Is that really so? I must say, your region's political history intrigues me, Lance. If you don't mind my asking, why in the world do you think such a powerful and respected trainer as this Samuel O would surrender without a fight? It seems so odd, so unlike a champion, wouldn't you say?
I see no mystery in that whatsoever. We were winning the war and the old man got scared for his life. Simple as that. Some high-level Kanto scientists were allegedly trying to make genetically engineered warfare Pokemon around them as a last resort, but nothing came of it. And once we got the legendary dogs under our control, victory was more or less guaranteed either way. Some Kanto pages may like to tell the story different, but that's the truth of it, Mr. Stone.
Well, it was an interesting turn of events in any case, I have to say.
Well, I'm glad I could keep you entertained. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm afraid I'll have to leave you to attend to some Indigo League business. I hope you'll keep enjoying the Kanto air for as long as it lasts, Mr. Stone. Vermilion is a beautiful city. Wow!
Shocking revelations, as Professor Oak seems to have betrayed Kanto during the war, which doesn't seem like him at all. I mean, Oak is an esteemed and well-regarded professor in Pokemon, so him being a coward is certainly unexpected. Anyhow, I have smuggled goods to retrieve, and while battling the trainers in the SSN, Vermin evolves into the highly regarded Team Rocket Pokemon Raticate. With its help, I was able to fend off the captain of the ship who was guarding the crates in his cabin because he couldn't remember loading them. I defeated him, after which Proton ambushes him by using his coffin to poison him, which leaves him sick. This, of course, aligns with how you find him if you were the protagonist. I really like this explanation because I always found it weird that the captain of the sea got seasick. Not that it can't happen at all, but I digress. Proton tells me that he'll handle moving the smuggled Pokemon into the appropriate location, but also directs my attention to the deserted land with a truck that nobody can access. If you're a true Pokemon fan, you know exactly what that truck is, but without Surf, it is still a mystery to us. Bill checks in on me saying that he gave Red tickets to the SSN, after which we report to the boss once again. Giovanni congratulates me on my successes in Cerulean and Vermilion and suggests promoting me soon if I keep at this rate. I provide Giovanni with some intel on Red and Blue, including how the former already has 2 badges and how I beat the latter in the Pokemon battle. While Giovanni admits we can keep an eye on them 24/7, he determines that they aren't a major threat since I managed to beat one of them.
Anyways, I have got more pressing concerns to worry about. You see, Fuji has gotten resentful over our exploits at the Pokemon Tower. While he's not a master trainer, he certainly isn't to be scoffed at. This is because he's managed to take out all of the grunts we have stationed in the Pokemon Tower and perched himself at the top until the souls of the murdered Pokemon have departed, whatever that entails. This is incredibly untimely as he's cut off our Cubone Skull supply when the demand is at an all-time high. This is where you come in, Random. Now normally I would assign one of my admins to do this, but they're either too busy or too scared. I need him dealt with, detained, and incapacitated. This is a prime opportunity to prove yourself. Take this self-scope with you to aid in your endeavors. Run along now, no use standing here. With my mission orders in mind, I started heading to the Pokemon Tower when along the way, Zubat decided to open its eyes to become Golbat. Inside the Pokemon Tower, I meet with Blue. He tries to put on a brave face once he realizes I'm Team Rocket, but truth be told, he's not in a good place and begins to confide in me. He talks about his shallow relationship with Professor Oak and also talks about his childhood friend, Red. He didn't really consider themselves friends, rather Red always had Professor Oak's attention and he felt neglected. Recently, Blue and Red had a fight in the SSN and unfortunately, Blue's Raticate would sustain injuries that it couldn't walk away from. That's why he was here really, to mourn his dead Pokemon. When he told Professor Oak about his loss, he merely suggested to catch a stronger one. That's cold, man. He hates Red and proclaims that one day he'll become the Indigo League champion. Such an unexpected relationship to form, but oh well, he decides to climb up with me to the top. Poliwag also evolved into a Poliwhirl during the climb, and with that we come face to face with the famous Marowak. This thing literally cannot hit me as it only knows ground moves, and Golbat being a flying type wasn't phased at all. Thou canst not call me, for thine intentions are not pure. Thou hast come only to bring more harm upon my kind, to profit from agony and death. 'Tis the most despicable greed. Thou art evil. 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 Hey man, I'm one of the good ones. I met with Fuji, who immediately attacks me after identifying me as Team Rocket. Alright, Fuji defeated. Nope, okay. Nope. Okay. I accidentally clicked yes. This is not good. We'll still a ditto, I guess. Oh no, I did not mean to do that. I'm a nice Team Rocket grunt. You disgusting hooligan. Yep, I'm sorry. Yep. Okay, I'm sorry. He talks about how Giovanni couldn't beat Lance with the Cantonian army, yet he expects to overthrow him running an underground crime mob. He even suggests that he would turn a blind eye to Giovanni's criminal activities if he left him in Lavender Town alone, and then he talks about his ill experience with the Mewtwo project. He rambles on about the catastrophe, in air quotes, which I assume to be referring to Mewtwo itself, but boy was I in for a treat. Archer arrives taking over from me, but not before revealing that Fuji was a coward and immediately surrendered himself once Lance took over. He did this by giving him confidential scientific information in return for a state-sponsored retirement fund as well as a quiet safe home in Lavender. Fuji tries to stand his ground, bringing up the Cubone skulls and asks what moral high ground we stand on. Archer replies truthfully by saying there is no moral high ground. Team Rocket knows what they are, and that is criminals. We don't pretend to be something we aren't. For instance, Lance, who pledged to Kanto when upholding justice, is nowhere to be found in stopping Team Rocket's exploits in Lavender, and that he even plans to destroy the tower in place for a private enterprise to set up shop.
And we know this happens because in the Johto games, the Pokemon Tower is replaced by the Kanto Radio Tower, which means, spoiler alert, Lance will remain in power by the end of the story. Blue and I have a quick chat where he discusses with me that we are wrong but we still have a purpose. I leave the tower and run into the infamous Professor Oak. He tries to inquire about Mr. Fuji's whereabouts, but once he recognizes me as a rocket grunt, he leaves immediately. I make a quick detour to buy a water stone for Poliwell's eventual evolution into Poliwrath, but I still had to make sure I waited for the moves I needed. I report back to the base and oh boy, something went down here.
Dude, I don't even know how to tell you what just went down here. He knocked us out. All of us. Yeah, dude, even Boss, hell, even me. That little red kid from Mount Moon. Like, I totally want to tell you it was a close match, but no, not even close. That kid is superhuman, man.
Bro, this guy is so full of himself.
Well, what can I say, Random? He beat me. He beat all of us. You going to see the boss? Huh, be warned, he's in a bit of a frenzy right now. Ariana, it's positively the worst humiliation we have ever been through. If Lance and the Elite Four had stormed in here and busted us out, I would have been furious. If some petty small-time gang decided to marshal all of its resources for a successful strike against us, I would have taken it as a slight upon my honor. But this, Ariana, what the devil could have prepared me for this? A child. I mean, what in Arceus' name am I to make of this? The most prestigious, notorious organization in all of Kanto brought to his knees at the hands of some pre-adolescent twerp. I am disgusted, repulsed, ashamed at our incompetence. I've been naive, underestimated the kid, and now look at him now, 4 badges and fully evolved Pokemon in his arsenal. Who knows, before we know it, he'll have earned the right to challenge Viridian Gym and will demand that his leader show up and accept his challenge. No, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But if it happens, we will have to be ready, Ariana.
You know, I'm always prepared for every eventuality, Giovanni. There are those of us you can count on to stand by your side until the end and beyond, if need be. Which, if
I don't even know what that is.
it would seem as if your favorite little grunt has graced us with his presence.
Random. So you've returned. I'll be frank and tell you that Fuji's antics are the least of my concerns at the moment, but let's hear what you have to report anyway. Quickly, you hear? What's that? There's more. Oh, could it be? Well, fine. You've piqued my interest. Take it from the start if you would. A Pallet Town native then, and licensed from Pokemon training by the chief trainer himself. Well, that explains how the kid got a hold of that freak of a Charizard, at least. So Oak is looking for Fuji, is he? God, what is he planning? Does he know about us? This could be bad. This could be very bad indeed. I think, Random, I think it's about time you learned the truth. The things that happened in secret in that final year of the war. I never thought to tell it all to a mere grunt, but I believe you've proven yourself worthy of hearing it. And if you're going to work with me to set things straight, it's best you had it clean from me. I'm going to tell you everything. It was 11 years ago. Kanto's war effort was going badly. It was clear that we could not win by force alone. But we had something that Lance and his boys did not. Something we knew was the key to victory. The minds of the brightest scientists in the nation. Ever since the start of the war, Oak had been leading a number of secret initiatives to capture and harness the power of one Pokemon. One so rare most laymen thought it was just a legend. But legends don't win wars. Oak knew better. Once word got back that Dr. Fuji had last caught hold of Mew, we knew there was no chance the public could know. It was to be the region's best kept secret and our only chance of winning. But Mew could not be brandished like artillery on the battlefield the way Lance did his Johto dogs, and nor did Oak expect it could. By far the strongest Pokemon in existence, but contained in the body of the most benevolent and soft-hearted creature you could ever see. We couldn't make the thing knock out a Magikarp for sport, let alone ravage a crowd of enemy monsters in the field. So Oak decided on another solution. To harness Mew's powers, they would create from it a genetic clone conditioned from birth to be devoid of empathy and to possess an innate urge for battle. They called it the Mewtwo Project. At the time, I was the richest man in Kanto and a devout member of Oak's Elite Four. I wanted to do everything I could for Kanto, so I funded the project. An impressive team was assembled. Blaine, Fuji, Bill, and Professor Shigeki, Kanto's authority on genetic engineering. Each member was a genius in his own right and wasn't afraid to work day and night for months for a chance to save Kanto. But the project proved much more difficult than expected. Most test cases came out formless, half-dead pieces of flesh that did not resemble Mew in any way. One of these early failures was particularly nasty. Though equally as erratic and disgustingly shapeless as the others, this newborn monster had inherited Mew's strength. It broke free from its test tube and escaped the lab, killing several of the earlier specimens in its wake. This little incident became known as the catastrophe, and it scarred the scientists as well as it did me. I began to lose faith in my investment, and I think Oak was starting to feel the same way. Luckily, however, Dr. Fuji soon gave new hope to the project. Fuji suggested a way to contain Mew's power within a solid sentient body. By creating a clone that would combine Mew's DNA with that of a human, initial tests proved promising and the scientists agreed to each contribute a sample of their own DNA to be used for the new clone. Oak was the only one who refused to provide a DNA sample. His skepticism for the project had now risen to a peak. Ironically, however, Fuji's theory proved correct. Sooner than anyone could anticipate, the team had produced their definitive Mewtwo, a human-like, immensely powerful psychic Pokemon possessing the requisite cold, bloodthirsty mind and sapient intelligence. Before anyone could prepare it for the field, however, the Mewtwo project reached its natural conclusion. Devoid of empathy but disturbingly intelligent, the newborn clone could find no reason to fight for Kanto's cause. Why the war did not appeal to Mewtwo, we couldn't quite say, but it refused to be used as a military weapon. And when we insisted, it rebelled. With psychic powers we had no means to control, Mewtwo ruined the lab and escaped the scientists who had given it life. Driven, we believe, by a desire to find worthy Pokemon opponents, it sought refuge in the depths of a notoriously dangerous cave outside Cerulean City. As far as I know, that's where it still hides to this day. No capture expedition since, not by the government, by us, or any other party for that matter, has been successful. Soon after Mewtwo's escape, it was all over. Oak announced Kanto's surrender to Lance and Johto, ending the war. We had done our best to destroy all evidence of the project, but there was no hiding the team's involvement in some kind of military research. Fuji was the first to throw in the towel. The old coward openly pledged his allegiance to Lance, accepting any terms they gave him. Blaine and Bill were more reluctant, but they eventually followed suit. Now as to this Shigeki, nobody knows. The old guy has been missing ever since the end of the war. And me? Well, Lance stripped me of my Elite Four position right quick. And Oak, the bastard traitor, left me to fend for myself. As if I hadn't invested my heart and soul, let alone my personal fortune, to defend a home now taken over by foreign aggressors. I knew it wasn't right. I knew that Kanto, at large, had been cheated of a battle we could have won. And I vowed then that if Lance could not be taken down through legitimate means, then I would cripple him from the inside. I never looked back. So now you see, Random, why recent developments have me very concerned indeed.
Giovanni then asks Ariana to man the Viridian gym as it would be foolish to leave it unguarded with Red running around. Ariana agrees but says their son won't like it, but Giovanni reassures her that moving to Meridian would be good for him.
I have a new mission for you. Professor Oak despises everyone who worked on the Mewtwo project, which means if he's contacting Fuji after all these years, it can be good. I need you to head to Pallet Town and confront Oak to find out what he's been up to. While you're there, make sure to ask around the locals about this Red kid. Any information or weakness we could find would be ideal. Before you leave, I have something to do, and that is to promote you to an admin. You have earned this promotion because of your various successes. Take this rocket pager with you. When it beeps, I expect all of my admins to return back to base. That is all.
This is amazing and... oh no, Ronnie, what do you want? He basically is super full of himself, thinking he's soon to be promoted, but worst of all, he decides to tag along on my mission. This is not gonna bode well. Bill calls me and finds out Red beat Team Rocket to a pulp and finds out that I know about the Mewtwo project, which means we are on the same page. I head to Professor Oak's lab in Pallet Town, but he's not there. When I exit the lab, I see Elite Four member Agatha fly in and she's surprised to see a rocket in the quiet Pallet Town. However, she doesn't stop me. In fact, she says we have much more in common. She invites me into her home with Daisy and says she's her granddaughter. Agatha and Oak used to be a tight-knit couple. They had a son who eventually married and gave them 2 grandchildren, Daisy and Blue. All was well until the war, when tragedy struck as both their son and daughter-in-law perished. Agatha despises him for that, says even if he died fighting, it would have still been an honorable one. She leaves me in the company of Daisy, but Ronnie shows up. Oh boy. He blurts out that we're here to potentially beat up Oak, which repulses Daisy, so she challenges me to a fight. I win, but Ronnie for no reason decides to attack a defenseless Daisy with his Raticate. Come on, man. A report back to HQ where it brings me immense satisfaction to say that Giovanni fiercely reprimanded Ronnie for his interference in my investigation and his sole involvement in getting the cops on our back since Cerulean. Yes, get him, boss.
Random. You need not report how your mission went, as that fool of a grunt already gave me the gist of it. So, Oak is away. Well, I can't say I like it, but what can we do? We'll hold on interrogating Oak, but I have a brand new mission for you. That bald coward Blaine has gone cold. He hasn't replied us despite multiple contact attempts. He knows I don't tolerate this type of behavior. I need you to head to Cinnabar to set things straight with him. Between the Porygon nonsense and his cowardice, tell him to get his act together before we resort to violence. Beat him out if necessary, but I need Blaine back on the board. Let him know we mean business. The scientists upstairs should hook you up with a Surf HM so you can get to Cinnabar. That is all.
Alright, so even before I can tackle all of that, my team is not good enough to take on a 7th gym leader. I need more power, so my first detour takes me to Fuchsia. I need to head to the Safari Zone, but I can't because they don't allow criminals. That is why I pick up a side quest from Koga. Apparently no one has been challenging his gym because of the out-of-the-way location of the Surf HM. Since the Surf HM is so hard to get, trainers don't want to get the badge to use it outside of battle. He gives me a fake Safari Zone employee card to steal a few boxes of Surf HMs from the guy in the Safari Zone and bring it over. One slight problem, the receptionist at the Safari Zone will check in with the warden to make sure that I'm legit. Clearly, I'm not, so I have to head to the warden's house to knock his teeth out. So that's why his teeth is knocked out. I see. This makes it so when the receptionist calls the warden to check on me, he can't speak properly without his teeth accidentally letting me through. I managed to catch a Scyther in the Safari Zone and named it Carnage. I did another side quest helping this lady find a better life for herself. A really heartwarming story really, and she gives me the Strength HM to symbolize strength in life. With that, I can head to the abandoned truck, and after I use Strength to push it, we got ourselves a Mew encounter. Wow. I caught it and named it Boo and headed to Cinnabar. Along the way, Golbat evolved into Crobat. Our team has powered themselves up, so I decide to confront Blaine at the Cinnabar mansion. This is where the Mewtwo project was conducted. The place is wrecked and in ruins, but I stumble upon a letter which looks fairly new. It was a letter from Professor Oak addressed to Blaine.
Dear Blaine, you positively shocked me. Because of our meaningful past together, I want least of all to make accusations against you. But you leave me little choice. My recent investigations have led me to conclude that you are in fact working with Team Rocket. I'm disappointed in you, but as your friend, I see no need to taint your near-flawless gym leader and scientific reputations over such a minor slip-up. At least, I certainly hope you should give me no reason to spread my discovery further. I suggest you meet at your earliest convenience to ensure it does not come to that. Regards, Professor Oak.
I pull up on Blaine as he challenges me to a fight. I wonder how he feels seeing me use Mew in battle to take out his team. Blaine is in a conundrum right now. See, if he works with Giovanni, Oak will rat him out and he will lose his gym leader status. If he doesn't, well, he'll get beat up. At least he knows Giovanni on his part is serious about his threats. He also tells me about how Oak lost faith in the Mewtwo project after the catastrophe and started working on his own project in the secret lab. At the time, the Mewtwo project was finally showing some promise, so Blaine declined. Interesting stuff indeed. Having completed the mission, I exited the mansion and heard my rocket pager beeping. I reported back to HQ and told them about my success in the mission. What's with all our admins being gathered here though? Listen up guys, we are in the midst of beginning the largest scale operation Team Rocket has ever carried out. Thanks to Archer's efforts in detaining Mr. Fuji, he's actually given us much more information than we bargained for. Sylph is currently beta testing a brand new device dubbed the Master Ball, which is a Pokemon capture tool with a much stronger magnitude to successfully catch than any other Pokeball. The primary use case for this should go without saying, capturing legendaries. We could get our hands on the Kanto birds and possibly even Mewtwo. It is to be expected that the government will be the first customers, and while Lance may not care for the legendary birds, he'll jump at the opportunity to catch Mewtwo. That would be a grotesque disaster. If Mewtwo were in the rightful hands of Team Rocket, we would be a force to be reckoned with. That is why this operation will see us initiating a full occupation of Silphco and of Saffron City at large. Detain all of their highest profile scientists, and I will make my appearance once the takeover is complete and meet personally with the CEO to make my demands. Show no mercy. I head to Sylph, and as it turns out, Petrol informs me that I've been trusted with rounding up the hostages. Such a big responsibility. I receive a card key so I can lock these guys behind the nearest electrical gates. I complete my task only to run into Ronnie. He of course is envious of our position and criminal activity and wants to prove himself to the higher-ups. He comes up with a proposition which is for him to deliver the card key back to the admins. Of course, this is just Ronnie grasping at straws because I don't know how that is going to give him any credit. He takes the card key out of my hands and wait a minute. If I was playing as Red, I would have gotten the card key from a Team Rocket grunt. Oh no.
You're that young rocket I spoke to in Lavender Town, so it's true your gang has invaded the building then. Such a shame. A young and able man like you wasting your energies on blackmail, thievery, and violence. What's it all for? A mighty shame is what it is. Good day, Rocket.
I make it to the CEO, where I meet up with Bill, who has just gotten the prototype for himself. Of course, he's yearning for the opportunity to catch a rare Pokemon like Mewtwo, but I can't let him leave because that prototype belongs to Team Rocket. I take him on in battle, and I also wonder what his reaction would be seeing me use Mew. Anyhow, he goes down and laments how close he was getting the Master Ball before he departs. Giovanni then takes over to negotiate his demands with the CEO and promotes me to Rocket Executive. Crime does indeed pay. He dismisses me from the mission, telling me to take a well-earned break and even gives me a crowbar, which is fun. I exit Silph Cove, but I can't say I'm excited about who I see. Red. Before I could go back in and lend a hand, Bill calls me urging me to meet him in the Cinnabar lab. I am caught in two minds, but I head to Cinnabar trusting my fellow Rockets could take on Red, but deep down I knew the end result. Before I headed to Cinnabar lab, I decided to battle the trainers in Kanto so I could level up my Poliwhirl till level 43, which is when it learns Wake Up Slap. I then gave Poliwhirl the Water Stone, allowing it to evolve into the underappreciated Poliwrath. I also evolved Scyther into a Scizor, and with that, I headed to Cinnabar. To my surprise, Bill has gathered Blaine and Mr. Fuji alongside myself for a unique mission aimed to tie up Kanto's biggest loose end. While Fuji opposes my presence here, Bill gets the room's attention and explains our mission.
I have gathered all of you here to tie up one of Kanto's loose ends. See, during the brief period when I had the blueprints of the Master Ball, which was taken away thanks to someone, I committed the plans to memory and I'm confident that I can recreate a Master Ball. This is a unique window of opportunity as the Master Ball isn't commercially available yet. We can take advantage and use it to catch one of our biggest misses.
Surely you aren't talking about Mewtwo. Lance and Giovanni are probably going for it as we speak.
Besides, we built an immunity to capture mechanisms in Mewtwo's genetic makeup, so we couldn't even catch it unless it lets its guard down. I'm not talking about me too. Let Lance and Giovanni run circles around that thing. I'm talking about something that left us scarred.
Surely you don't mean...
Yes, I do. Random, I need you to pick up a rare Johto apricot and plant it deep in Verdian Forest. I also need you to ransack your HQ in Celadon, as I have it on good record that Team Rocket have replicated Silph's high-end processing chip. I will reward you many times over, but you have no idea what's at stake. You have to do it.
I proceeded to get the apricot where I met a young Silver. He comments on how his dad can't even stop the littlest things, but of course I haven't heard what went down in Silph yet, so I wouldn't know. I pick up the apricot and headed to the HQ, and my word was it a bloodbath.
You bunch of incompetent fools. Giratina take you all. This child, he wiped out every single one of you, found his way to the president's room, and ran off with the Master Ball prototype. In front of your eyes, ladies and gentlemen. What do you have to say for yourselves? What? A public humiliation of the scale? Can anyone ever look at Team Rocket the same way again? Tell me, you morons. Are we the mightiest gang of mobsters in this region, or a bunch of little girls?
The mightiest gangsters in Kanto, that's what we are. Hey, boss. We'll show that little kid next time, you betcha.
Silence. You worthless, simple-minded little bad egg. I've given you more warning than you deserve, Grunt. Yet you seem to be relentless in your incompetence. You take a card key that wasn't even yours to use, then drop it right in front of the child so he could ruin our plans as thoroughly as possible. Imbecile. Moron. Were it not for you, that twerp might have never reached us, and the Master Ball would be in our hands right now. Do you understand?
No, boss. It wasn't like that, see.
Enough. That's enough. I have had enough. Nidoking, prepare for attack. Leave us. Leave us, you worthless scum. You're not worthy of the R that's printed on your chest. If I ever see your face again, I'll grind it into berry powder. Mark my words, I will. Be gone. No matter, boys and girls. Because one thing is for sure, this red twerp, He has messed with us for the very last time. Hear me. We will relocate Team Rocket's headquarters to the Viridian Gym. Evacuate this building immediately. Admins, executives. That means the next time the rocket pager beeps, you will report to Viridian Gym, pronto. When this child comes to seek his final gym badge, we will be ready. All of us. And by God, we will have our revenge. Do I make myself clear? Then move, Team Rocket.
I'm so glad Ronnie got fired, but man, I've never seen the boss this heated. I collected the data chip and headed back to Cinnabar, where we determined that in order to find the location of the catastrophe, we need to track down Shigeki, who worked on the Mewtwo project as well. Only way we can contact someone that has been off the grid for so long was by Mewtwo. Since they all gave a bit of their DNA to create Mewtwo, once it was born, there was a constant mental link that was established between them. While they no longer actively felt it, it would be our best way to track down Shigeki. So, I headed to Cerulean Cave to face Mewtwo, as I was the most proficient battler and it was nerve-wracking.
So you'd come. I was waiting for you. Random. The scientists who sent you here, who thought my psychic powers weakened in the years past. They are wildly mistaken. I'm stronger, sharper, deadlier than I ever was. You've nothing to threaten me with. Even against the master ball you wield could work against me. I could cut off the arm you throw in before the first contraction of your muscles. But that would give me little pleasure. Instead, give me an engaging, forceful, fair Pokemon battle. And I will tell you when you came here to find out. Oh, how I long for a challenging battle like an infant crammed in his mother's milk randy. These impulses I was given. Bleak a decade, an eternity, with no worthy enemies to put my dormant powers to bear against. I'm your god trainer. Give me all.
I beat Mewtwo with egg scissors from my scissor, which made Mewtwo reveal Shigeki's location.
Yes, that's it. Very well, Random. You've humored me better than I thought you capable. I'll tell you what you want to know. The Pokemon my creators seek is the one they call the catastrophe, and Shigeki indeed knows where it's hiding. And where is Shigeki hiding? In plainer sight than any of his former colleagues would believe. Shigeki, you see, was an old man in the days when they gave birth to me. When that war of yours finally came to an end, disgusted, fearful from the things he had done and seen, he ran away. He abandoned all of his ties to his past life as a scientist, far away from the public eye, for a quiet, secluded life with his granddaughter, hoping the demons of his misdeeds would never haunt them again. Yes, these days you see, Shigeki is an inconspicuous old citizen of Viridian City, notable to his neighbors only for his frequent drunken bouts, and his habit of keenly showing passerby youngsters how to catch their first Pokemon. Yes, he knows where it is. That disgusting failed experiment of a Pokemon Bull is after. If you truly wish to find it, to capture it at last, speak to Shigeki in Viridian City. He will show you the way. That's all, Random. Leave me now to train for my next worthy challenger. I will see you again when you're grown much stronger than you are.
That came out of nowhere. He's the NPC that teaches players how to catch Pokemon. I went to approach him and he is stunned when I call out to him because no one has called him Shigeki in years. He takes me into his house and tells me his story.
Well, after all these years, confronted not by Lance but by Team Rocket. So Bill sent you. I should have seen it coming. My dear Rocket, I will give you the information you're seeking. But please, keep my whereabouts to yourself. I have a family to protect. Do you promise me that? Thank you, young man. I will not forget your kindness. So I suppose it's time for me to come clean. You know the story, I suppose. Mewtwo Project. Well, somewhere amidst all our failed attempts to clone Mew, a brilliant idea occurred to me one day. To rearrange sample of Mew's genes into a computer program. I convinced the others to create a software Pokemon akin to Porygon. One we could program to do exactly what we wanted. It would be our ultimate war machine. But a project that size with only the 5 of us. There were bound to be bugs in the program. I knew as much, but I didn't realize the magnitude of these glitches until the first specimen was ready before our eyes. The catastrophe. It was an abomination. Powerful, yes, but erratic and uncontrollable. It was as if its presence would destroy the fabric of reality. Like nothing we had ever seen. It was clearly too much to handle. As you probably know already, it made its escape in a violent frenzy. Thankfully, I had wireless safety mechanisms in place to stop it. The monster didn't get far before I was able to immobilize it and put it to sleep. I told the others I had everything under control. When they asked me where the creature lay dormant, I said I didn't know. But the truth was, I knew it all too well. I was just too scared to admit to all these powerful people that the catastrophe was hiding right under our noses. Right along the eastern shore of Cinnabar Island, frozen beneath the ocean surface. I presumed it would only be a matter of time before the creature would find a way to break free from my remote control protection systems. But it still hasn't. It was a stupid, reckless thing to create. It traumatized us all to have been so close to unleashing such an uncontrollable monster upon the world, and nobody would trust me to do anything by myself after that. But that's all in the past. For the present, young man, it was really the other scientist's intention to finally lay this matter to rest. Then I will deactivate the safety mechanisms that are keeping it dormant, and leave you free to capture the monster. It would clear my conscience tremendously to know it's been dealt with. But if you fail, I don't know what having that creature could wreak on the region. There will be no turning back. So, are you ready to capture the catastrophe rocket? Very well. I will deactivate the software that's keeping it frozen. May Arceus be with us. Now go, Rocket. Fly to Cinnabar Island and surf along its eastern shore. Capture that vile creature and lay this matter to rest once and for all.
I head back to Cinnabar and holy shit, this place is getting glitched out of its mind. After I found out the catastrophe wasn't about Mewtwo, I always had an inkling it was about Missing Now, and yeah, it was confirmed, so that was pretty cool. Fuji states that we can finally get rid of it, but of course, Bill interjects saying the power I have is immense. Fuji, wanting nothing to do with it, departs as Blue and Blaine exit the gym after his gym battle. Surprisingly, Blue seems to remember Missing Now and claims to have seen it when he was with his grandfather in a secret underground lab. Way to snitch on your grandfather, but this is crucial information for us. Finally, we can discover Oak's secrets. I headed to Oak's lab, but I was met with roadblocks. His door was locked, but luckily thanks to my trusty crowbar, I got in. His assistants tried to stop me, but I was too strong a trainer. Just like Blue told us, I pressed a secret switch on one of the bookshelves and entered the secret lab. The whole place was ominous, with lab sheets all over, but back to the matter at hand. It's time to reveal the professor's secrets.
The Mewtwo project is bound to fail, but my colleagues refuse to see it. Missing Now was just the canary in the coal mine. A Pokemon clone of Mew, however sophisticated, can never be controlled. The others have all refused to back down. So I henceforth start a scientific project of my own. If it can't save Kanto, nothing can. There's a fatal flaw in the logic underlying the Mewtwo project. Yes, there's immense potential in genetic engineering, no doubt, and we've correctly isolated the genes responsible for aggression and sociopathy, but what good are they in the body of a Pokemon that cannot be reasoned with? The wartime chaos makes people focus on raw muscle power to the exclusion of everything else. They forget that we are not savages. But why have Pokemon grown to be such a dominating force in society? Not by their individual power alone. Left to their own devices, Pokemon are passive, simple-minded creatures. Above all, the thing that determines the strength of a pack of Pokemon is the intelligence, the discipline, and the leadership of the humans that control them. A Pokemon is only as strong as its master. Let's do away with all prior assumptions. What if those genes we synthesized were instead manifest in a genetic clone of a human boy? Yes, a boy of those unique, unwavering qualities raised for Pokemon battle, who would not be subject to the same limitations as a normal human trainer. Coldly and objectively, he could devise his battle strategies, push his Pokemon to their limits, like a dispassionate puppet master directly controlling the actions of his Pokemon from afar, as if by the click of a button. Fuji and Shigeki have taught me all I need. I will create the superhuman trainer on my own, and nobody is to know. Initial tests appeared promising, but I cannot recreate the body of a full-grown living boy of baffling age. For the clone to resemble a human well enough to fool the world, I will create my master trainer as an embryo and let nature take its course. A sterile local widow blindly devoted to me since our youth will happily agree to adopt him as his mother. Of course, he will need little nurturing for his genetic code to bloom as intended. The purpose of his childhood will be to imprint only a single lesson, that I am a father figure he can trust and that my word for his own good is law. The Pokemon Elite Challenge is a ray of hope for many naive young trainers, even if only 1 in a million ever stand a chance at being champion. Fortunately, it can readily be exploited, As soon as given his Pokemon license, my clone will rise up the ranks at an unprecedented speed. Gym leaders, criminal organizations, legendary Pokemon will be no match for him. They'll never see a child like this coming. They won't believe their eyes. Mewtwo escaped the Pokemon Mansion and put an end to their farcical project. Kanto's military resources are running out. We can't afford this war any longer. Lance will not give in until he has my head on a pike and all of Kanto kneeling before him. It won't do. I will surrender my position as champion. Lance will gleefully take my place and the public will shame me as a coward and a traitor. But they will let me live. And in 10 years' time, I will wipe that grin off her conceited face, Lance. When my boy is crushed you in fair official Pokemon battle, you will find his policies a champion, less than friendly towards the likes of you. As a minor, the boy will gladly concede his political decisions to me. And being his only male guardian, the people will have no choice but to comply. Kanto, Johto, the ends of the world. We will yield unprecedented power. What human trainer could possibly stand in our way? Oh, a decade of public humiliation is a small price to pay. Because when the time is right, I will return with a vengeance.
That was insane. Red is a clone. Heck, he's not even technically human. This is the most insane twist I've ever heard, but it all makes sense. The rocket pager starts beeping, so I report to Viridian where I see Red waltz past. Just seeing him is unnerving. Then it starts to settle in my head that Giovanni must have been defeated for the last time. I see Giovanni and Ariana outside the gym as Ariana pleads for Giovanni to stay with Team Rocket. Giovanni has lost hope in the cause, however. Red was just too strong. It hurts even more as in this short time, Red was about to lead the region whereas Giovanni is no closer to his mission to when he started. He leaves forever, not before leaving behind a briefcase for me. Silver shouts at his dad for being a deadbeat and Ariana is struggling to deal with it all. I open the briefcase and find a note. Giovanni's last wishes for Team Rocket. He wants me to take on Indigo Plateau to do what he should have done, exacting revenge on Lance, Oak, and Red. As I'm proven to be the most skilled battler here, I have to demonstrate Team Rocket's infamy one last time before disbanding it for good. That means that on the helm, it was I that reigned over Team Rocket. Before I could even think of heading to the league, I had to get my badges. This was a trivial matter as Brock, Misty, Surge, Erica, Koga, Sabrina, Blaine, and Ariana were overwhelmed with my power. I give my regards to my admins, Proton, who seems dismissive of my position, and Petrol, who wishes I carry out Giovanni's last wishes. As I gain passage to the league, at its doorstep, Lance comes barging out.
Get out of my way, Giovanni? Is that you? No. You're just one of these well-dressed coons. Off to steal some Pokemon from poor Victory Road trainers, eh? That's a safety risk and more importantly, not my problem anymore. What? Haven't you heard? I was defeated by, I can't even say it. A farm boy from a backwater town. What are you so smug about? I don't care if this region falls apart and crumbles now that his far boy's in charge. I'll show you how a real leader takes care of criminals like you.
Spoiler alert, he did not in fact do that as he lost terribly. After the fight, he talks about how he could have taken down Team Rocket at any time but waited for Team Rocket to cause a crime of large enough scale so that he could come in and save the day and prove the doubters wrong. The Silph incident was the perfect situation, but someone had beaten him to it. Alas, he has new responsibilities. Still an Elite Four member, he flies off, which opens up the league for me. I head into the league and look who we have here. Ronnie. Hey man, I mean, you messed up a lot of our endeavors, but it's good to see you nonetheless. I'm lying. I hate this guy. He talks about his life as a solo gangster, but also tells me there's another new challenger that has entered the challenge to new Elite Four. The news broadcast breaks in announcing Blue as the new champion of the Kanto region. Of course, he still has a lot to learn about the position. I mean, he's only 10, but only if he knew what was in store for him. Oak arrives and can't believe his grandson became champ after all these years. He barges his way into the champion room. Bill arrives and he tells us he knows about the basement lab and who Red really is. We have to put a stop to this, but this lady won't let Bill and I through. Bill tells me to use whatever dirty tricks I have to get through and I begrudgingly do the unthinkable.
Hey, what's all this commotion, Random? Are you guys trying to break into the Elite Four? That's rad. What's that? You need help? What? You mean my help? Damn. Never thought you'd say that. You know, Random, I know I haven't been the greatest buddy in the world, I keep getting things wrong and screwing stuff up. No, I'm not as smart as you and all. I just wanted to be bad. A real badass pin gangster, right? The whole 9 yards. I didn't want to wait around. Didn't want anyone to think I was a sissy. I couldn't take it. I'm real sorry. I'm going to set things straight and be a proper thief like you one day. I'll do things by the plan. No more cutting corners. So look, just this once. Leave it to me, Landon. For old time's sake. Raticate. On alert, you lazy rat. We've got work to do. Raticate. Give us a hyperfang.
Well, that works.
Don't worry, Random. Me and Raticate will stand guard here and keep nosy people out. You go and do what you gotta do.
We barge in, but all I see are the Elite Four members already defeated.
Who are you then? First Oak, then Bill. Now this wanky fellow who looks like he might be Giovanni's nephew. This is a big happy reunion finally. Well, what fitting timing, after all these years. It looks to me like Kento was about to radically change again. That child was just passed. He's something to be reckoned with. I was prepared for a challenge, not a one-sided slaughter. Cold and calculated, not a sign of emotion. Can't imagine the others will fare any better against him. Well, what are you gawking at? Run along. I'm not going to humor you with any tricks now my Pokemon are knocked out.
This is crazy, my friend. These powerful children. Where did they come from? That child with the spiky hair, I thought I had a chance. Not so with the one called Red. Total destruction. I admire his power and discipline, but I sense there is something not right about him. Ah, nonsense. I'm a straight harder. It's the only explanation.
We meet again, Random. Much has happened, seems. I was filled with pride when Blue defeated me and took his rightful place as champion. Pride that there was something worth preserving in my blood after all. But Red, he seems a different beast altogether. I never paid much attention to that child, but it's clear I made a mistake. I can understand now why Samuel held him in such high regard all these years. To tell you the truth, I don't quite know what brought it out of his kids. Well, you're looking with Samuel, aren't you? I'll say, when you walked past me just now, it was strange. He was ice cold, didn't say a word. There was a glint in his eye that cultivated brown-nosing politeness that all disappeared. There was something in him like the way he used to be in the old days, like he had a definite purpose he was chasing. Do what you must, Random, but bear in mind that I will honor whoever is the rightful champion, and I cannot stand behind anyone who interferes with that justice. You've been warned.
Yeah, you again. I won't stand for this meddling. As if seeing that worm of a professor again wasn't enough. Now we're invaded by genuine terrorists. If my Pokemon had any health left, I'd teach you a lesson, Thug. And were I still champion, I'd have you hanged. And if only... Look at me. What in Giratina's name happened? I don't know how I could have prepared for these super kids. I suppose. What difference does it make in the end? If you're defeated by Child X or Child Y? At what point is your dignity so pressed that you just stop caring? Go on then. Lord knows you people aren't my responsibility anymore.
Red, you defeated the Pokemon League. I came to congratulate you.
It's Gramps.
I'm really quite impressed. You've grown up so much since that day you first left with Charmander on your quest to complete the Pokédex. You know, Red, you really have come of age now. What a shame, Blue. Once I heard that you had beaten the Elite Four, I decided that I should come. But by the time that I had arrived, you had already lost. The reason you lost is because you've forgotten to treat your Pokemon with trust and love. Red, you do understand that this victory of yours was not just your own doing, don't you? I want you to come with me.
Another news broadcast is held to announce that Red is the champion. Oak, of course, swoops in to declare that Red has speech and anxiety issues and cannot properly convey his ideas. As such, he would carry out Red's ideas, which we know is total BS. Oak calls for changes like harsher punishment for criminals, bringing the legendary birds and beasts under government control to preserve nation heritage, and for lands to be punished. But before Red can agree, Blaine and Fuji barge in, proclaiming that Red is unfit to be champion, as he technically isn't even human. Oak, of course, tries to cover this all up by saying that Red's anxiety is spiking, so he immediately brings him and himself into the Hall of Fame room. Agatha, however, does believe Blaine and Fuji's accusations, but instead of being outraged, she was thrilled to realize that Oak wasn't a coward, rather, he was cunning. She attacked the whole room with her ghost Pokemon, backing us into a corner. I used the Silph Scope to reveal the ghost Pokemon, unhanded myself, and took on Agatha in a battle for the right to head to the champion room. I defeated her swiftly, but she told me if Oak's old self has really returned, there isn't anything he wouldn't do to keep me away.
Hello, Rocket. I think you should know, it went out just a handful of people in my life to have exhausted my patience for polite conversation. You slimy little radical. I thought you'd be just another speck for Red to wipe away and forget about, but somehow you slipped through every single crack there was to exactly the sequence of steps that could unravel everything I worked for. It doesn't matter what you've seen. Red is as good as human as any. The region is legally bound to follow his command, and there's not a trainer anywhere who can take his title from him. I knew that when I saw his pulse beat for the first time in my lab. Knew I held the key to complete lasting power. Surrendering to war is just the next logical step. I'll tell you this. It was the hardest thing I ever did becoming Kanto's traitor, but it helped reinforce the lesson I already begun to learn about honor. You see, in war, people will fight to their dying breath, but in peacetime, they'll forfeit without a second thought to any odd kid who can beat them in a Pokemon battle, all in the name of this honor. So it stands to reason, if you control the strongest trainer, you control the shape of history. See, I have no plans to be a chivalrous leader, just a smart one. What do I care about my legacy? About living up to higher virtues? Where's the rational scientific basis for believing that when I'm dead, none of it will matter? I've been surrounded all my life by these idiots who fail to see that there's only power and weakness, pleasure and pain, life and death. None of their precious values mean anything in the final analysis. It's why I can vent and prattle on to you about anything I like, because the word of a lowly criminal means nothing to a person of any stature. For face to in a court of law, we both know who will win. I do what I can. Pull the strings I have to pull. To further my own interests. I don't need any pompous ideals to fool myself into thinking of doing anything else. Yes, I've been there all along. In Red's adventure. Nudging him in the right direction. Whispering in his ear when he was about to make a mistake. Nobody in the right mind would think a child should hold the power of a device like Master Ball, but when the opportunity presented itself for him to grab the copy, I couldn't possibly let that pass by. Then of course, I needed to make sure none of the Mewtwo scientists would suddenly get curious about Red's origins. So I stepped in to keep them out of the way. If it wasn't for Bill, I would have easily scared them into submission. Now it became clear to me when my aides called me about your little intrusion on my lab, that I hadn't insured myself against every contingency, but it doesn't matter. All can still be well. These slip-ups can be rectified. If I stick to the plan and do not let my emotions get away with me, Red is quite the role model in that regard. It's the very image of pure cold-blooded rationality. He's very nearly human, like us in almost every way. He lacks only that emotional core, morals and conscience, a reason to act, some ultimate goal. To aim his innate aggression and unconstrained intelligence at. It's lucky for him that I can provide exactly that. Doesn't it fascinate you now you know the truth? Who is Red really? What's his personality? He could be anyone. He's only a puppet. Yes, a puppet for someone else to control from a distance. That's his purpose in life. I think, Rocket, you're much alike in that way, the two of you. But that's enough talk. I happen to know Red gave you a thorough beating somewhere at Mount Moon a long time ago. He's orders of magnitude stronger than any trainer he has faced, and I can assure you, if you struggle to stand your own battling him back then, you don't stand a chance in hell against him now. But then your Pokemon seem to be the only defense you have, so in the name of our culture's silly little etiquette, stand tall, Rocket, and face him like a man.
Oh boy. We are battling Red, and I do not think it's gonna go well. My team is underleveled, the moves aren't good. Missing No isn't as good as I thought it would be. Mew doesn't have enough coverage. Yeah, this is tough. Okay, we have Ancient Power for this. Should take it out. There we go. Well done. Snorlax goes down to a couple of wake-up slabs. There we go. This thing is weak as hell. Strength should 1D KO. Let's go. Lapras. Wake up slap. There we go. You know, I find it funny that Red is supposed to be a super rational trainer, yet he decides to have a Pikachu on his team. Yeah, Alakazam is more like it, but Pikachu? Really? Dragonite Acrobatics from Acrobat takes it out. And we beat Red. Yes. I won. Let's go. Oak is furious at Red's loss, but just then Agatha enters the room. She proclaims that she never lost trust in him and always believed Oak would deliver on a perfect Kanto. That is 100% a lie, and Oak calls her out on it, calling her a woman through and through, despising him at his lowest and coming back to him when he returned to power. That is phrased very badly, but aside from the misogyny, I think you get the idea. Oak decides to show what her loyalty meant to him by bringing out his Tauros and killing Agatha with a Giga Impact. Damn. Bill and Ronnie arrive, but Oak, now knowing he's outside of the law, decides to battle us himself. Alright, here we go. This is looking to be the boss battle of the game. Alright, Mew should take down the Tauros that killed Agatha, which is still a bit unnerving. This Executor dies like 2 times over. This thing is weak as hell. Egg Scissor from Scizor. There we go. Fantastic. This thing is healed a lot, but Arcanine should go down to this Acrobatics. Strength from Jolteon might be a 2-hit KO, unless it critical hits. There we go. Acrobatics from Crobat again. Takes out the Venusaur. Well done. And quick attack from the Gyarados, or onto the Gyarados, and we win the fight. Fantastic. Oak was perplexed. How did I manage to foil his plans and defeat Red, a clone capable of Pokemon mastery, unless I myself was a clone? Lance barges in to apprehend Oak, but in a last-ditch desperation, he commands Red to use his Pokemon to protect him and claims he can use the Hall of Fame machine to register himself as champion to do a lot of damage within this small period of time. Suddenly, my Missingno breaks out of his Pokeball to corrupt the Hall of Fame machine records, which renders Oak's final stand a futile one. He is dragged away by the police, but he's not the only one, as Lance gets the police to arrest me to answer for the crimes of Team Rocket. Red, the results of the genetic test presented in the court and the counsel of our leading medical professionals have left little doubt in the minds of our jurors. You've clearly suffered from severe birth defects. Whatever you are not a human being of upstanding physical or mental health. You have no birth certificate, and you are not a legal citizen of Kanto Johto. In short, you are not fit to be champion of the Indigo League. Consequently, the position falls to your predecessor, Lou Oak.
Your Honor, I don't think I want to be champion anymore. Let someone else take it. After what I've learned about Grandpa, I don't need his approval anymore. I have other stuff I need to do.
Very well. Then the position defaults to Lance.
Oh, Your Honor. I'll gladly accept the burden of resuming my position.
Then the matter is settled. Red, your case is unprecedented. We've tried our best to treat you with sympathy, but we must take the safety of the public into account. Your Pokemon license will be revoked with immediate effect. An unstable person like you cannot be allowed to wield lethally powerful Pokemon in battle, out in the wilderness perhaps, in the name of self-defense, not in civilized society. That is all. You are excused. Professor Samuel Oak, you have been accused of voluntary manslaughter and of conspiring to upend the government through, please excuse me, through engineering a genetically modified clone of a human boy, groomed from birth to be a bloodthirsty and obedient to authority, uniquely suited to take down the Indigo League champion, created all as a part of an 11-year plan to return to power in a secret laboratory hidden from public view. But the lab in question is empty. For a charge this implausible to hold any weight, we'd have to have presented with substantial evidence. No such evidence has surfaced. The charge is dismissed. Moreover, no reliable eyewitness testimonies could be brought forth about your involvement in Agatha's death. In good faith, we can only conclude that she died in an unfortunate accident of Pokemon battle. On the other hand, the jury unanimously declares you guilty of violating your ban on Pokemon battle. In summary, Professor, you do not appear to pose a threat to the public's well-being, but you have shown a terrible lack of regard for Kanto's laws. No official anywhere will grant you another Pokemon license. Your research will not be funded. Professor Oak, you are hereby banished from the Kanto region. Seek your fortunes elsewhere. Random. Please approach the bench. As member of Crime Syndicate Team Rocket, with honorable title Boss, you stand accused of several confirmed counts of Pokemon theft, violent coercion and intimidation, complicity in Pokemon smuggling and violence towards women, bicycle theft, possession and use of a forged Pokemon license, threatening and attacking a police officer, and assisting the operations of a pair of unlicensed procurers operating in the underground path. That being said, there is no bounty on your head at all despite your high position. This seems to me to be a promising sign that your conscience is intact. The corruption hasn't seeped in too deep. Nevertheless, the jury declares your sentence to be 1 year served in the regional penitentiary. I can only hope you've enjoyed your time in the criminal underworld. Random. It's plain to see why living beyond the law attracted you. In a gang like Team Rocket, it may seem as if you can get away with any depravity you like, but eventually, the chickens come home to roost. You've had your thrills, and now I'm afraid it's time we brought you back to the real world. Random, I declare you guilty as charged. Well, I guess crime doesn't pay. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. This video is probably one of the biggest videos I've ever made, so any support on the video would be greatly appreciated. And yeah, see you next week. Bye.